people being evacuated. They're going to reception centers. They may be going with family. And you don't have time to think, okay, what do I need to take with me? The fire is at your door. It's not the time to prepare. And the fire may be at your door in your home, in your building, whatever. It's if you have given some thought and preparation. How the brain works is, this is your executive function in your frontal lobe. Your fight or flight is in your lower brain. And our natural response is to run, and you don't think. It's fight or flight. But if you have done some preparation, that preparation will kick in. You'll have the fear, but preparation will kick in because you have done something in advance, or you have a bag, or you have a kit, and you can go with it. Or you're driving a vehicle and something happens. It can be as simple as a car accident, or it can be an earthquake, or it can be a fire, or it can be a power line down. And are you prepared in your vehicle? Or you're taking a road trip. Are you prepared in your vehicle? And those are the kinds of things to be aware of and take steps to mitigate. And you as a group, is there a list of all the employees that are working? So if something happens in your building, where do you go? Where do you gather outside? And who has a checklist of everyone who is working today? And so then you know who is perhaps still in the building, or is missing, or maybe they were sick that day and only one person knows that, and maybe that person is not in the building. And so suddenly you don't know who you have as your group of workers. So those are the important things too. Preparation helps mitigate damage, personal damage, work damage, whatever. And so the preparation is really important. We have, I'll go through the handouts that you have. The first one is a feedback sheet, and the city asks for these. That's how we get paid. No, we don't get paid, but it gives them feedback as to how valuable the session was for you, and if there's anything else that you might need. And if you want to be on an email list with them, you can also put that in as well. We're going to take the next piece, which is the 10-step emergency plan, and we're just going to go through it step by step.
That's one.
Yep.
I worked for a week in the Red Cross registering Fort McMurray survivors, or the people who had evacuated. No one had an emergency kit. No one. They had to leave. They grabbed what they could grab in 5-10 minutes. I don't know if you saw the clip in the news about a woman sleeping in a car with 4 kids, no food, no water, no gas, no preparation. You as cutters, when you go onto a client, there's some basic steps that are just all back here. You do not think about them, just do them, and then you rationalize up here. So what we're proposing to you is that you form some good habits. Having a grab-and-go kit, having the shoes, having something here, if you can take care of yourself. It is preparation. In a major incident in Vancouver here, roughly 33 million people, there'll maybe be 1,500, 2,000 people die. Out of 3 million, pretty good odds. Your odds are good, but your odds of taking care of yourself, if you do not have a plan, are extremely poor. Take away air, you've got a minute. Take away water, you've got a day. Take away food, you can last a week. So get those things into this part and have some thought, some idea of what you would be wanting to do. The evacuees from Fort McMurray as well had family relations. Was a big thing. I'm okay, but you, living in Newfoundland, Eastern Canada, do not know that. How do we communicate? So that nature thing is all preparedness for you.
And the assumption is that there will be somebody to take care of us. There will be no one to take care of you. Because responders are going to be the cost of housing, for example, in Vancouver. Many responders live out of the community. Will they be coming here? Will they be able to get here? Perhaps not. Those who are working, yes. So the key is that you are able to look after yourself for 72 hours and preferably a week or two, because you really do not know the length of time a major incident might be. And so the more you can prepare and do a little preparation, you don't have to do all the preparation in one day, but make yourself a goal of this month I'm going to do X, or I'm going to have a community in my workplace, and we're going to make certain that each of us has a grab-and-go kit in the work environment. And then we'll support each other to do it at home, where you can buy things together and do your preparation together.
There's about 3 or 4, excuse me, there are about 3 or 4 days of food in Vancouver. There's not a big stockpile of food. It's always coming in by rail and by truck. Okay? So we take away power. The stores, should they be able to open, how are they going to transact? You have to get something in your kits that prepares you and your family for at least a week. A major one. But the major ones, what are the odds of major happen? I don't know. But I'll guarantee you there's going to be a number of smaller events that you will eventually be affected by. And so if you're prepared for the small stuff, when the big stuff happens, you're good to go.
You're less likely to panic. Dr. Carlos Ventura, an engineer from UBC, has designed a early warning system that has been being installed into the Catholic schools in Vancouver. And it's a 1 second or 3 second warning. 20 seconds. And what that does is what happens when, like, who felt the earthquake in December? What was your first response?
Well, what's going on? Look up, jump.
Yes. And that's human nature, is that time you spend wondering if it is or what it is. An early warning system and preparation, you know what to do. You drop, cover, and hold. That's the earthquake preparedness. And so that's why we encourage this process of preparedness. Is you're less likely to panic and you're less likely to waste time wondering what's going on.
An aside on that counting is, why do we count, okay, is how long is the shake? If I'm under a table and counting for 3 minutes, then I count another minute after to let things fall down around me. I am guaranteed that there's going to be aftershakes, fairly severe, fairly soon after. The one that we're talking about, rattle, 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 no big deal. Okay. I know that there's not going to be an aftershake after that, or if there is, it's just going to be even smaller. So that's what the count is about. That this bad has happened now, and you know that something else is going to come down the road after later. Well, now I can really get prepared for that.
Well, in the shake in December, I was still up. David was in bed asleep, but I had an orchid on a little shelf up top. It fell over. We're on the 7th floor of a high-rise, and you think, if this was really, and then I looked up to see all the dishes I had on top of the cupboard, and it's like, you don't think, but those things need to be thought of in advance so that you're protected. Who has a mirror or a picture above their bed? Many people do. That's the first thing that's going to come off, and if you're sleeping, where's it going to go? You know, do you have a pair of shoes under your bed if you've got lots of glass in your bedroom? Those kinds of things, because you will jump up and where do you go? And you need to practice putting on those shoes for having that muscle memory that you'll automatically do that versus jump up and run. So let's go back to our 10-step plan. Basically, when you're looking at hazards, you look, and one of the firefighters has been good in teaching us this, is when they go on site, they'll do a 360 one direction and a 360 another direction, which means you will see things differently from each direction. And so you look for hazards. You look for stuff that's going to fall. When you look at the ceiling, as David mentioned, tile will probably come down, lights will probably come down, that exit sign will probably come down. You know that windows are going to shatter, and so where do you go? You go in, preferably under something. Doorways used to be indicated as, before construction was what it is today. Doorways are no longer sort of the standard of where to go. It's go under something to protect your head. If you have nothing to protect your head, you want to be in a doorway, that's fine, but it's not like the protocol is a doorway. At home, you do the same kind of thing. If you're in an apartment, you may not know where water shutoff is or gas, but it's important you find those things out. And be it from your landlord or from whoever the owner is, find out those things so that you have that knowledge, you have that awareness. And then again, looking at what in Vancouver area we might experience. Power outage. The last power outage we taught at an apartment block, and what happened, there was some disabled folks in it with wheelchairs. They weren't able to get back into their apartment. They were outside because it was electronic and power was off. I would say that most of you are digital savvy in this room, may not have digital. That may all be down. And so what are your means of communicating aside from that? And so have that preparation in place. One of the most important things in step 2, which is have a meeting place. One is a workplace, but 2 as a family unit. Where are you going to meet? If you're working in different areas and you're living in a different area, roads may not be available and passable, and where are you going to meet? So you have a meeting place outside this building, you have a meeting place because you might be at home, outside your building, and as a family unit, say if you have family in Greater Vancouver, where will the family meet? And then who will you contact to say we are safe, or you can't contact somebody and they know to put out a call that you're missing. And preferably it's out of province and even out of country, because you might be able to call out of province or out of country, but you might not be able to call in the city.
And text messaging uses shorter bits that if the system is up, that can get out. Okay. That little quake we had earlier, 911 was almost overwhelmed. Was that an earthquake? If you asked, it was, it was an earthquake.
I know, you could have gone on Twitter, really. That's where I went. I was like, Twitter. Yeah. I'm like, was that an earthquake? Yes. Yeah, you have to call 911.
12 o'clock at night?
Yeah, Twitter was like, as soon as it happened, Twitter was like,
yeah.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
And the key also is, if you're making phone calls, and it happened in Seattle, is the lines are overwhelmed because people are calling in to say, is this an earthquake? Or they're talking to each other. Use text if it's available, preferably, or as you say, things like Twitter, because let the lines take care of the emergency versus chatter. And the calls amaze me that go into 911 that are just bizarre, but that's not what it's for. It's for an emergency, not I need my tire fixed. Where's the nearest? Here's where I am. Where's the nearest tire store or whatever? You know,
if something happens, Elena and I know where we're going to meet. I'm not going to meet downtown. I'm going to meet in a neighborhood where something's low. Okay, most likely that those are going to be okay. I can walk there. As well, we have an outside contact family in Edmonton. They are our designate. So we can phone our daughter in Edmonton. She can, from there, contact the rest of our family. I'm not having to load the lines up. Everybody knows where everybody else is most likely.
So you've got your meeting place, you've identified your contact, and then preparing your kits. What kinds of things do you need in your kit?
Water. Flashlight.
Medications.
Yeah.
Food, flashlight.
Cash.
Yes. It's just something
Good
we don't
point.
think of often. ATMs may not be available. Power may be out. So it's having at least a $50 in your grab and go kit that's in $5 bills, so that it's easy to use and easy to change. And the same thing with food and water. Like, here's a sample of a grab and go kit that you can have at work or in your car. You can have more preparation at home, which is for a larger period of time. I look at glasses around. Now, if your glasses are broken, do you have a past prescription that you can place in your grab-and-go kit? That's important. If you take any medication, it's important you talk with your doctor and your pharmacist. Can you have, because prescriptions may not be able to be filled, so can you have some extra medication in your grab-and-go kit if that is something that you require? What else?
Did we say first aid stuff? I can't.
First aid, no.
Do we need
and first aid, who here has first aid? Basics. Basics, good. And places that teach basic first aid is the Vancouver Fire Service as well as St. John Ambulance. And the course is around $50, $60. I recommend that everybody take it because it gives you some basics to take care of yourself, and it gives you basics to take care of your family and your community. Because, again, the responders are going to be busy doing other stuff that is more urgent than minor scrapes or bruises or broken arms or anything of that nature.
Let's take a look at the population of Vancouver proper. What are we, 1.5 million or so just in Vancouver? There will be, at any one given time, around 350 first responders. Police, fire, ambulance. Okay. Are they? Hey, listen, I'm here. I have a broken leg. Are they going to get to you? Not a chance. The roads will be clogged. You have no ambulances. The hospitals will be in stepping. They're going to be charged. Are they going to come get you? No. Okay. You must look after yourself and your family. If bad stuff happens, I take care of myself, then I take care of my family, and then I start working in my community to help. So all these little things, getting prepared for them, and first aid is a big deal. You know, you're not going to do heart surgery, but you can immobilize a broken bone. You can stop bleeding. You can save somebody's life, including your own.
And it's such good basic skills to take away. So that's important. And we'll give you some places where you can also take it for free. So you prepared your grab-and-go kit. There's two other things that are important in your grab-and-go kit. Insurance policy, if you have it, and preferably you do. Having it for earthquake is questionable because of the cost, so that becomes a personal decision. Driver's license, ID, you should have all of that copied. Your work and your home environment, you can video it and have a USB of that, or you can just do photocopies, because you may not have it if it's at home and home is no longer standing. So anything that's important to you that is going to cause you distress or be difficult to get in the first week or two, it's important you have copies of it.
Should we be on our own in this weather, not such a big deal, but we're in the monsoon season. I want to have rain gear. I want to keep the elements off me. I want to have a ground sheet that I can A, cover, B, on the deck so that I will be sleeping. So I can be crawling under some sort of shelter. So I want to keep warm and dry. If you're cold and wet, you're addicted. Hypothermia, that sort of thing. So in the grab-and-go kits, the plastic tarps, pretty small, rain gear that you go to the Mac or something like that, you get them down into little bags. All that nature thing will save your life.
The little silver blankets, for example, which are easy and small to pack, are good to have in a kit. So you have your grab-and-go kit in your work environment, you have it in your vehicle, and then you have a more substantial one at home that isn't necessarily something you walk away with, but if your home is still standing, you have enough supplies of food and water to take care of you for that first 72 to a week. I personally think 72 hours is too short, but it's doing a little bit of preparation so you can start thinking in that direction. Water, how much water do you think you should have at home per day, per person?
A couple of liters.
4 is what we recommend, because you have to drink it, you have to bathe with it or clean with it, you have to cook with it if you can. So it's 4 liters per person that we recommend. And we have an excellent water supply in Vancouver, so we can just be in jugs. And what we recommend is looking at, because we change time twice a year, is using that time change as a trigger to, if you've stored water that's tap water, which is perfectly good, you don't have to buy it, is just replace it, just rotate it. And then check that everything is up to date in your kit in that period of time. Your home, utilities, fire. Now, earthquake, you drop, cover, and hold. Fire, what do you do in a fire? Say there's a building and this room is filled with smoke. How do you escape?
Get down.
You crawl. That's the thing to remember with fire. Drop and crawl out. And you escape for that, but for earthquake, you drop and cover and hold. If you have children, anybody with disabilities or seniors, again, the level of the age level doesn't matter as much as an orientation and a practice for everybody, and everyone has their own kit. If you have a child, the child is part of your plan and part of your family unit, so they are given a small backpack and they should have a toy or something of that nature, which is comfort for them. Again, they're part of the unit and they're part of the planning and part of the exercise process.
And practice calms. Children, they've gone through the drill, and at home you've practiced. Here's my stuff. Here's our gathering point. They are a part of it. They have responsibility in that. They have their own gear to carry. okay, this kicks in, and full family moves into the pet unit. And yes, you're going to be scared, and you're going to be elevated, but not to the degree of panic.
And the same thing with pets. If you have pets, what is important for that pet? Does that pet have vet records? They need food and water and the same sort of preparation. Katrina brought our level of pet awareness because people wouldn't leave because they couldn't take their pets. And so pet preparation is important. And the key is then practicing whatever your family plan here is, and you should practice drills here in your work unit. Where are you going to go, and how are you going to go? And it's surprising how many people will run to an elevator in an emergency, and we do that because it's okay. I got to get out of here. So where am I going? No. Where are the exit routes for you, and where are you going to meet outside? And as a group, go outside and say, okay, where's the best place for us in a dire emergency for us to meet?
Why do people go to the elevator?
Really?
This part is kicking in. Every day, I use the elevator 2, 3, 4 times a day. Every day. This remembers. Snap. This shuts down. This kicks in, and I'm off to the elevator. So the practice, even the thinking about it, and as a work crew here, gosh, see on the change of time, do a drill. Get something happening here, so it affects you here at work, and that's going to carry over for your home life as well.
So what do you do if there's an earthquake?
Go under table or
Chair.
Drop, cover, and hold.
go inside there.
It's locked.
This
Somebody
may
have the
come
key?
down.
Yeah.
So
You just came out though.
some resources for you that I think are excellent ones. The City of Vancouver has a program that David and I are part of, which is called Vancouver Volunteer Corps. And there are a number of free courses. There are a number that you take, and then you can get into the fire department. The fire department has a program called NEAT, which is Neighborhood Emergency Assistance Team. And it's 18 hours of training, 2 weeks, 4 evenings, 6 to 9. And then there's an exercise on a Saturday, which is 8 to 3. I highly recommend the program to anyone who's interested in taking it. The city doesn't have, you have to volunteer X number of hours, but the training is so good that it assists you personally and then assists your community. And in the fire department's NEAT program, there is a component of first aid. You don't get a certificate as basic first aid, but it does give you some basic first aid. You just don't have accreditation for
A
it.
learning mechanism like this is good if we're interacting. But the NEAT program, I just love it because you get to play. You go out and you do. If this is what a fire hydrant, here's how it works, and here's how you run a hose and all that. It is fun, and you gain a lot of really practical.
There are 2 components of the training that's offered for free through the city. One is an ESS program, which is the Emergency Social Services, which volunteers help evacuees in emergency. Fire is the NEAT program, which helps the first responders in an emergency. And so that level of training through the fire department is just a little more exciting because you're working with firefighters. And those trainings are free. Fire also has, who here has used a fire extinguisher? A few hands go up. The city has a training course with the fire department, and I think it's around $30 or $40. Again, really valuable. because they go through a PowerPoint presentation with firefighter training around it, and then you actually get to use a fire extinguisher. And that experience, again, is helpful. Some of the errors that happen, how do you put out say you were deep frying on the stove and there's the oil catches on fire. How do you put it out?
Not water. Cover the with towel.
Something on top.
The number of people that use water is amazing, and it intensifies the fire. But because you think, again, water puts out fire. No, not in all cases. And the fire department goes through the various levels of the fire extinguishers and what to do. So
Home
those are all-
fires are significant in Vancouver. And part of our training is to, there's a fire, we'll go and help the people evacuate after and throw the water on So.
Other resources, St. John Ambulance for first aid as well. They will have kits both in first aid and preparedness, and the same thing with the Red Cross. You can build your own kit or you can buy a kit. I tend to recommend building your own kit because you personalize it for what you need. Food really, two things to keep in mind with food is we tend to think of energy bars as food. That's junk food, really. But in an emergency, look for energy bars or food that has reduced sugar and reduced salt, because both of those will increase your hunger and your thirst. And there's dehydrated food or there's canned food, and you have to remember, if you're using canned food, to have a can opener. Another part that we didn't cover is having a radio, because that hopefully will be our communication in a major disaster. Hopefully their buildings and their ability to communicate to us will be available, and that's where the information will come in.
What are the emergency channels? You're using a radio, where are you going to go for that?
We know the hip hop.
Jason, what are you going to set your radio dial to? Any guess? Okay. How about do we have a government run broadcast system? CBC. Yes. Okay. What are the call signs for? We have AM and FM.
88.1.
Great. And
103.
105.7. And 690 on the AM dial.
Any questions? What we have given you